Elena Carter spent most of her life learning how to stay invisible. In her family, attention was reserved for her brothers, the golden sons with polished degrees, loud dreams, and expensive celebrations. Elena was the quiet one, the dependable one, the daughter who worked late shifts and fixed broken things without asking for praise. After her mother passed away, Elena became the glue holding the family together. While her brothers chased campus parties and business plans, she stayed home, patching leaks in the roof, balancing bills, and working double shifts at Morgan's Grocery just to keep the lights on. No one called her successful. No one called her special. And eventually, Elena stopped expecting them to. The grocery store became her world. Endless aisles, midnight restocks, fluorescent lights humming above tired shoulders. Most people barely looked at her when they passed by with shopping carts and impatience. But one rainy night, everything changed. A man collapsed near aisle 7, tall, injured, exhausted. His clothes were soaked from the storm, and his face carried the kind of emptiness that comes from surviving too much alone. Elena grabbed a blanket from the back room, made him hot tea from the employee station, and sat quietly nearby until he caught his breath. He thanked her softly. Then he came back the next night, and the night after that. His name was Nathaniel Brooks. He had recently returned home after years overseas, serving in the military. He carried invisible scars that most people never noticed. Elena never pushed him to talk. She simply listened when he needed silence and stayed when he needed company. Little by little, he started smiling again. And little by little, Elena realized someone was finally seeing her, not as the forgotten daughter or the grocery clerk everyone mocked, but as a woman with strength, compassion, and resilience. Months later, Nathaniel proposed with a simple ring and a promise. "You made me feel human again," he told her. For the first time in years, Elena believed her life could become something bigger than survival. But her family didn't share that joy. When her brother announced his wedding at a luxury ballroom downtown, Elena wasn't included in the planning. She wasn't asked to help. She wasn't even listed properly on the seating chart. At the reception, she found her name scribbled onto a paper card at the very back of the room beside the kitchen doors. Overflow seating. No champagne glass. No place setting. Just another reminder of where they believed she belonged. Her father barely acknowledged her arrival, but everything shifted the moment Nathaniel walked in beside her. He wore his decorated military dress uniform, medals shining beneath the ballroom lights. Conversations slowed. Guests turned. Even the photographers paused. Suddenly, the daughter they ignored became impossible to overlook. Elena heard the whispers immediately. "She works at a grocery store. Imagine bringing her here. She's not exactly wife material." Her father chuckled quietly with her brother near the bar, assuming no one important would care enough to defend her. They were wrong. Nathaniel heard every word. But instead of reacting with anger, he simply pulled out a chair beside Elena and sat with calm confidence. The reception continued awkwardly until the speeches began. Friends toasted the bride and groom. Family members shared emotional stories. Applause floated politely through the ballroom. Then Nathaniel stood. He wasn't on the schedule. Still, he walked calmly toward the microphone. The room fell silent. "My name is Major Nathaniel Brooks," he began evenly, "and I've spent years learning what truly matters in life." People leaned forward. He glanced toward Elena before continuing. "When I came home from deployment, I was lost. I had medals, titles, and accomplishments, but no peace." The ballroom grew quieter. Most people saw a soldier. Elena saw a human being. Her father's smile faded. Nathaniel's voice stayed calm, steady, impossible to ignore. She sat with me through sleepless nights. She reminded me how to laugh again. She treated me with kindness when I had nothing left to offer anyone. Then he looked directly at Elena's family. You call her a grocery store worker like it's something shameful, but she's the hardest working person I've ever known. She kept her family afloat while others chased comfort. She gave when no one thanked her. A woman near the front lowered her eyes. Nathaniel continued, She isn't beneath anyone in this room. In fact, she's the reason I survived some of the darkest moments of my life. Complete silence. Then came the final sentence. She's the only woman I would trust with my future. The ballroom erupted into applause. Not polite applause. Real applause. The kind that arrives when truth finally breaks through years of judgment. Elena sat frozen. For the first time in her life, someone had defended her publicly instead of asking her to stay quiet. Her father stormed out of the ballroom moments later. Her brother followed behind him, furious and embarrassed. But Elena stayed seated, because for once, she didn't feel small. Later that evening, Nathaniel handed her something unexpected. A folder. Inside were legal documents. What's this? She whispered. Nathaniel smiled softly. The house on Willow Street, he said. Your childhood home. Elena blinked in confusion. Nathaniel explained that her father had quietly fallen behind on payments months earlier. The property had gone into private auction. Nathaniel bought it and transferred it into Elena's name. Her breath caught instantly. The same house where she spent years being overlooked now legally belonged to her. She didn't celebrate loudly. She simply felt free. The following week changed everything. Her father called constantly. Her brother demanded explanations. Extended relatives flooded social media with opinions about loyalty and family pride. Elena stayed calm. She finally understood something important. People who benefit from your silence often become uncomfortable when you find your voice. Nathaniel stood beside her through every conversation, never controlling, never speaking for her, simply supporting her while she learned to stand on her own. Eventually, Elena visited the old house again. This time, she walked through the front door without fear. She opened windows that had stayed locked for years. She repainted walls her mother once begged to change. She removed the tension that seemed baked into every hallway. For the first time, the house felt peaceful. But Elena didn't stop there. Instead of turning the property into a monument to revenge, she transformed it into something meaningful. Nathaniel helped her renovate part of the home into temporary housing for women rebuilding their lives after hardship. A local veterans organization partnered with them soon afterward. The same family home that once made Elena feel invisible slowly became a place of healing for other people. Word spread quickly. Then something even more unexpected happened. Elena took over Carter Auto and Tire, her father's struggling business. Years earlier, he laughed when she showed interest in learning how it worked. You wouldn't understand real business, he told her once. Now she owned it. Elena modernized operations, improved employee benefits, hired veterans and women overlooked by other companies, and rebuilt the shop from the ground up. Within months, business tripled. Customers returned. The local paper featured her story with the headline, "The daughter they ignored built the legacy they couldn't." Her father never apologized directly. But one afternoon, Nathaniel saw him standing quietly across the street from the shop, watching employees laugh while Elena greeted customers with confidence. He looks regretful, Nathaniel said softly later. Elena stared out the office window for a moment. Then she smiled gently. Maybe, she answered. But regret belongs to him now, not me. Months later, Elena was invited to speak at a women's leadership conference. She stood beneath bright stage lights, looking out at hundreds of faces, some hopeful, some exhausted, some still learning how to believe in themselves. She took a deep breath before speaking. "I spent years trying to earn love from people who only valued achievement they could brag about," she said. "I thought being quiet would make me easier to accept." The audience listened closely. "But silence doesn't create respect," Elena continued. "It only teaches people how much of you they can ignore." She smiled softly then. "The day I stopped begging for a seat at their table was the day I finally started building my own." The room erupted into applause. Not because Elena became wealthy, not because she married a respected military officer, but because she proved something bigger. A person's value is not decided by the people who underestimated them. That evening, Elena returned home to the old house. Only now it looked different. Warm lights glowed through open windows. Laughter echoed from the kitchen. Lavender grew beside the front porch. Nathaniel handed her a mug of coffee and wrapped an arm gently around her shoulders. "You know," he said quietly, "they spent years trying to make you feel small." Elena looked around the home she rebuilt with her own hands. Then she smiled. "And now," she whispered, "I finally know how big my life was always meant to be."